This is the Access double tomato house. It's 4 feet long, 1.2 meters long by 1.2 meters, 4 feet deep as well. So we've got 16 square feet of growing space inside the tomato house. So plenty of space for your tomatoes and all of your crops. Now the unique thing about the Access tomato house is this fantastic ventilation and also access into the tomato house. So we can easily reach in. There's nothing more than 2 feet away from an opening panel. You can see down here we've got these sliding doors at the bottom, so again we can access the crop, we can pick the crop, but we can also slide the top glass as well. So on a hot day we can open up the top glass, we can even remove the top glass. So if it's a really windy day, what we can do is slide the side glass closed, so we've got wind protection, we've got the sun falling on that glass and warming it up inside, but to stop it getting too hot in the summertime we can actually remove that glass so that the hot air is venting out through the roof. But because you've got the extra warmth of the glass on the side, it's a bit of a sun trap, you're going to be the equivalent of about 300 or 400 miles further south in your garden. Now the access is both sides, so we've got these sliding doors here, but also if we go round to this side we've got it all repeated again. So we've got the sliding roof glass and we've got the sliding panels here as well. So fantastic access and also really excellent ventilation in the Access double tomato house. Now the Access tomato house isn't like a tomato house that you would buy from a DIY store. The framework on our tomato house is architectural aluminium, so it's very strong and it's very sturdy and it won't blow away in a puff of wind. In actual fact, we give a 25-year guarantee on our framework. We're that confident that it's going to do its job. And instead of glazing our tomato house in cheap plastic, we glaze our tomato house in toughened safety glass. Now the toughened safety glass is very strong, but also the toughened safety glass has a number of advantages over plastic sheets. First of all, a glass sheet won't bend and blow out when it's windy like a plastic sheet will. And if you've got snow on here, you can have 2.5 feet of snow on the roof of here without any problems. If you've got plastic, the plastic would have bent and fallen in. Now the glass is very strong, but it's also very safe. If you did break a sheet of glass, it goes like a car window into little tiny pieces, so it's not going to do you a nasty injury. But the real advantage of glass over plastic is its heat retention. You see, as the sunlight comes into a glass tomato house, then the warmth of the sun is trapped inside, and that's not the same as a plastic grow house or a plastic tomato house. There the heat is lost again. So you can go outside with an Access tomato house and find that in the early springtime it's lovely and warm in here, even if it's cold outside, because the glass is letting those heat rays into the tomato house and trapping them there. And that's why we've got this fantastic ventilation system on there. We talked earlier about having it wide open, but the other thing you can do with our sliding panels is just create a little bit of ventilation. You see, even in February or early March, I've been outside and it's 22 degrees inside the tomato house. That's because the sun is on it and the heat is being trapped in there. And so early in the year you can just open the glass perhaps 1 centimetre or so, 1/2 inch or so, just to let the air move through the tomato house, and you could do that on the other side as well, so we're getting a through draft. That way we don't have any disease problems in the tomato house because we're not having that stagnant and damp air. Now by contrast, many tomato houses have just got a roll up front, so it's either fully open or fully closed. Here we've got infinitely variable ventilation. Now it's not just in the summertime that you can use our tomato house. You can use it in the early part of the year for bringing your tomatoes on. Once they've been grown from seed and they've got to a few inches high, you can bring them out here, and there's plenty of sunlight out here, although obviously we need to protect them from frosts. But we can also use the tomato house for bringing on seedlings. If we want to, we've got some optional shelves that we can put into the tomato house to put some seed trays on. We can also use it like a giant cloche. We can put it on the vegetable patch and get the soil that's underneath the tomato house warmed up, and then we can perhaps plant some crops into the bottom of the tomato house before we would put our tomatoes out, get them going, and then move the tomato house again and fill it with tomatoes later on. And at the end of the year we can use the tomato house again. We can either, with those shelves, do some salad crops in the autumn time, or we can use it for overwintering. So we can put geraniums in there or fuchsias in there and overwinter them. So although the tomato house is primarily, as it were, designed for tomatoes, it can be used all year round. As an option, we can add a seed tray shelf set into the tomato house. Now, each set of shelves consists of a narrow shelf which will hold 3 seed trays, and then a deeper shelf that will hold 5 seed trays. And they're fitted onto this runner, which you just bolt onto the vertical leg of the tomato house. And you can see there's a whole series of holes in here, so you can change the spacing of the shelves to suit whatever you're growing on there. And also in the summertime, when the tomatoes are taking up all the space inside the tomato house, you can easily unhook the shelves and take them out, and you just leave then the runner in there ready for next time you want to use the shelves. Now, the shelves are very useful. You can use them in the early springtime for bringing on young seedlings. There's plenty of light in the tomato house because there's glass all around. And you can also use them for hardening off if you've got a full-size greenhouse. And in the autumn time you can use them for salad crops going right up to Christmas time if you want to. Another thing you can do with the shelves is in the autumn time, once the tomatoes have been affected by the frost and normally the tomatoes all die off, what you can do is cut off any vines that have still got tomatoes on there. And there'll often be green tomatoes on the vines, and if you just lay them on the shelves, you might want to put a seed tray on there or just something to stop them falling through. But if you then lay them on the shelves and leave them in the tomato house, as long as you leave them on the vine, they will very slowly ripen up, so you can still be picking your tomatoes out of the tomato house right up till Christmas, which is fantastic. Now, getting back to the shelves, we've got one set here. You can have another set at the other end at the top, and if you really wanted to, you could also add another couple of sets of seed tray shelves down on the lower level as well. But a very useful addition to your tomato house, and makes it versatile and allows you to use it all year round, not just for tomatoes. When we go to exhibitions and we talk to customers, they constantly complain about the cheap plastic tomato houses and how they blow away in the slightest puff of wind. Now, our tomato houses aren't like that. They're made of architectural aluminium, and they're glazed in toughened safety glass, so they're really strong and rigid. But if you are living on a cliff top, or you're on the moors and the wind really whistles through your garden, then we do an additional bracing kit that you can put inside the tomato house. And that consists of 2 elements. We've got the brace, which we have 2 of these, one at each end, and that fits up into the apex of the tomato house and fits down here as well, and that gives the tomato house extra bracing and really makes it rigid against the onslaught of the wind. The other thing we have is a fixing kit that's included with the braces. That allows us to bolt the tomato house down to the ground. Now, we can either do that onto some sturdy paving slabs or onto a concrete pad. And once we've bolted it down and we've got the bracing kit in there, the tomato house really isn't going to go anywhere, even in the strongest of winds. So if you haven't got room for the 4 foot by 4 foot double tomato house, then we do this 4 foot by 2 foot tomato house. It's got the same features. You've got the sliding front doors, so you've got the easy access, the easy ventilation, top glass still slides for that summer ventilation, and you've still got room for 4 tomatoes in there as well. But for the gardens that haven't got room for a full-size tomato house, this 4 foot by 2 foot tomato house is the one for you.